You're listening to Travel Tales with Fergal.
I'm delighted to say that my guest today is Longford native Senator Micheál Garrigy, who's the Seanad spokesman on tourism, culture, art, sport and media, and who was also previously the Cathaoirleach of Longford County Council. He is also the chairperson of the County Longford Tourism Committee, so I couldn't have a better guest today to tell us all about what Longford has to offer. As you will hear now, Longford is an Irish county rich in history, culture and literature. For more details on Longford, check out their website longford.ie. So let's hear from Micheál now. So Micheál, you're very welcome to the podcast. Great to see you.
Thank you very much.
The village you're from is Ballinallee, isn't that right?
That's right, Ballinallee, the home of the blacksmith of Ballinallee, General Sean Micheál.
Who was a major national figure, wasn't he, in Irish history and politics?
A very significant figure during the War of Independence. He would have been the leader of the North Longford Flying Column, which would have been one of the most active columns within the IRA at the time during the War of Independence. Actually captured by the British in Mullingar train station and sentenced to death. I know Michael Collins tried to break him out from Mountjoy on at least one occasion, such as an important figure that he was. And, you know, from what I've learned from history, it was actually Lloyd George that sort of commuted his death sentence and that he was released. He was, as I say, such a pivotal figure for the movement and for Michael Collins, and the treaty negotiations were ongoing. And that was one of the main things that Collins wanted, was that death sentence commuted. And there's a story that Lloyd George said to his nephew when he was out playing cricket or something like that, that he had a decision to make, and whether a man would live or die, and that would have could have an effect on a lot of things. And it was following that he made the decision to commute the sentence. But as you said, politically, following that, Micheál would have actually seconded the treaty in the Dáil, and supported Michael Collins, and then he went on to play a role as chief of staff for the army, and then went into political life and served up until 1965, I think, was the year when he was defeated in the long count by Brian Lennon. I think there was 6 votes in it at the time, but over that period he served, I think, as Minister for Justice and Minister for Communications, and actually ran for the presidency twice. And the second time he ran, it was actually against De Valera, and De Valera won, stood down as Taoiseach and ran for the presidency. So a very, 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 significant figure in political life and the history of County Longford.
I remember reading something about him saying that Michael Collins, at the end of the treaty negotiations, he wasn't signing until he came out. That was the version I heard, that he wasn't signing until he came out. That was his, and I was kind of going, wow, great political move by Michael Collins, because he obviously, that was a vote guaranteed as well as everything else. But it's
also there were personal friends, as Collins.
Were they? Of course.
Spent a significant time in Longford with in Granard, which is just 10 minutes up the road from us. So, and it would have been Collins that would have come to Longford, and it was 1917, to get Micheál strongly involved in the whole fight for freedom at the time. And there was, stories that I've heard in my youth of a wrestling match taking place between Micheál and Collins, and Collins won the wrestling match. So Micheál then agreed to join up. At the time, he was running the forge there in Ballinallee and looking after his own siblings and his mother. So he had, I suppose, he had to look after them. But Collins won out and got him involved, and, as I say, played a significant part in Irish history with a large number of raids on RIC barracks. Raids. Clonfin, just up the road from us, about 3 mile, a well-known ambush site, and where four members of auxiliaries were killed But even when Micheál was being tried at the time, after being arrested, some of the soldiers actually gave evidence in his favour of the way he had looked after them, that he had stayed till the very end treating them, even when reinforcements were coming back, and that they had, looked after him. And actually, you know, the name escapes me now at the minute. A soldier that was a member of auxiliaries happened to come back 50 years later and go to the site. And I think Micheál happened to be there and met up and sort of kept in contact after that for a number of years. You know, one that was on either side at the time, but they recognised, you know, that once the battle was over at the time, there was a number of people dead, but he treated the wounded and looked after those that had been deceased, and, you know, let the others go, you know. So, and even that ambush is used by the American in West Point.
Go away.
In military training.
As in for like guerrilla warfare tactics, is it? Or?
Tactics that was used and how they set it up and where they based themselves and how they sort of, you know, set up the mine and where he had people positioned, you know, for it. And indeed the same happened in Ballinally, where I live. The Bacchanals came in to burn it in November 1920, and the Micheál used a cottage in the middle, Rose Cottage, which we are actually will be reopening on the 103rd anniversary as a War of Independence interpretive centre. But he used that cottage, but he positioned men around the village on different roads and lookouts, and I think it was 10 Crossley tenders came in to burn it, and a battle ensued in the village, and it was the first town or village in Ireland to defeat the Tans when they came in to burn it. Now I've heard stories, there's nothing on record, but some people have gone to, you know, the British Military Museum, and there was a number of deaths of British soldiers at the time, but they weren't attributed to any other action that took place, or no other action took place bar there. But they said there has been anecdotal stories that there was a number of kills, you know, there was blood on the street there, but it was, as I say, it was a great moral victory for the local IRA at the time to have actually stopped them coming in and burning the village.
Like the first I heard about that history about Longford, and it's got you have to say your county's amazing history, was last year for my podcast. I interviewed John Connell, who I think comes from your same village. Yeah. That's why I asked you. And I had this time last year, I actually interviewed him, and he, you know, did his 3 great books, the Longford trilogy, they call it now, The Stream of Everything, and particularly say the second book about the running book. He goes in a lot talking about the history of Longford. You know, from prehistoric times to now, and the Stream of Everything as well, you know, from the Vikings and, you know, and way before, but, you know, talking about having Viking boats used to be moored in Loughree, like that was kind of like a base for them, and, you know, so far inland. But what made me realise Longford is just, it's oozing with history, isn't it? The character.
It goes back, you know, you mentioned the Vikings and the Norman moat in Granard going back to 11th century. But even in my own local area, we have Old Clombrony, our parish is Clombrony, but that's a site that St. Patrick came to after he was released from Slieve Mish, and Emer and Brona, who were the 2 daughters of Milku, followed him there and set up a nunnery. And in my parish, and that's where the name of my parish, Ballinally, is in the parish of Clonbronach. And so they set up a, you know, a religious settlement there, and so that goes back to about 500 AD in my local area, and the ruins is still there, and it's an old Roman Catholic graveyard, but it's the site, you know, as I say, it's gone back 1500 years.
Yeah, so one of the oldest in Ireland, I would say.
It would be. So as I said, it's steeped in history, but particularly, I suppose, from 1798 onwards, there's a lot of history. Like the English, when they were before they went to Ballinamok, they stayed in Ballinally overnight. Went the Battle of Ballinamok, and when they were retreating back, they stayed again overnight in Ballinally, and that's where a lot of United Irishmen that were captured were all hung or slaughtered or whatever it may be, and are actually buried in a copy graveyard in the village as well. So it's a lot of, as I say, a lot of links, but particularly last 250 years.
And the Knights and Conquests, the Heritage Centre in Granard is a great place, isn't it? It's very active, and it's a great one for people. There's not too many places like that in Ireland, actually.
No, it's unique, and I look forward to us breaking ground on, the building actually Norman Heritage Village, and we've funding secured. We're just probably need a little bit more funding, and we Falch Ireland involved in Longford County Council and rural regeneration funding from the government to develop that village. So I'm quite hopeful that we'll break ground on that this year, and that we'll have a full Norman heritage settlement to work with the actual centre that is there at present. And we look forward to inviting tens of thousands more tourists to Longford to come and visit that at the site of the highest motte in Ireland, which is located right underneath where this is going to be developed.
What I love about going to somewhere like Longford is you go there. I love going to places where people, the love of their local area comes out. And I just realized that we haven't even talked about who you are, and we're already we just went straight into history. So could you let people know actually just about a little bit about yourself?
I suppose I'm Micheál Garrigy. I'm born and bred in the village of Ballinlee. Probably going back from what I've looked, at least I think 7 generations of Carrigys in the Ballinlee area. So the family is well ensconced in the local community. I've been involved in, I suppose, a lot of, particularly in sport. GAA, I'd be well known, working with underage structures within the GAA and the county, and I've served at both a Leinster and at a provisional level within Croke Park. But I've been involved in politics, I've been involved in community life all my life, community work, be it from Ferrogia to Macron Affirm. As I got involved at underage tidy towns and led into getting involved in politically to try and, I suppose, develop more things initially in my own local area. That's when I went for the council, and I was elected in 2009 in the Granard area. First time out. I've been re-elected 2014 and 19 since that, but I've gone on to a national stage. I suppose I got a love of politics when I got involved. Working after my own local area, my district, and I wanted to go further and try and look after and do more for my county. I'm very proud of where I'm from. I love where I'm from. I don't want to be from anywhere else. We have a fantastic county. I think it gets knocked too much in the national media. I think a wrong vision or a wrong view of Longford has got out there over the last 10, 12 years, I suppose, in particular. And that's when I was involved in the council. I got involved in at the tourism committee. To be honest, at the time, there was actually no link with the tourism committee and the local authority, and it was a struggle to get things done. So I got involved as chairperson of it, and we've tried to build that links, develop the strategy, identify back a long number of years ago what assets we had. We had no 4-star hotel in the county. We felt we were losing out on a lot of tourists and a lot of business, and the fact that we were losing a lot of weddings in particular in the county. So we decided to be proactive about it, and there's no point in expecting someone to come here and provide something for you. We had to do work ourselves and build on the product that we have to try and promote the county, and then maybe somebody would look on it in a more positive light with regard to developing a hotel. And that's where the whole strategy, I suppose, on developing the Royal Canal started. First of all, that link from Longford out to Clondra, we set up a company, 7 of us, myself, a number of members from the local authority, and we asked a couple of community workers as well to get involved, and we set up Longford Clondra Mini Limit as a company to leverage money from the Rural Development Fund, and we got €200,000 of a grant to start work. We worked in conjunction with Waterways Ireland and leased the banks of the canal out as far as Clondra, and working with the local council. The council, put over €100,000 into the project as well, and that's where we developed that first 16-kilometre section from the town out to Clondra. I suppose it was the discussions of with that, and sort of the whole idea of developing the whole Royal Canal, spawned from that, and discussions with Waterways Ireland, Michael Baines and Ian Rowe in particular were two people that we worked with. I know in my own committee we had particular Donna McInbaha, who was a senior planner, and Mickey Nevin, and we started the conversations, and I suppose it was from there conversations took place with other local authorities, Westmeath, Meath, Kildare, Dublin, to push on the whole idea of developing the entire Royal Canal from Spencer Dock to Clondra, where it meets the Shannon. So, that, I suppose, gathered pace, and I suppose with money coming on stream more so from 2016 onwards, and with Waterways on board and Falls Ireland were, fully behind us. It's the funding came in place to start to develop the sections. And as I say, now we have the Greenway or the Famine Way up as far as Maynooth done. And I know there's a bit of an issue in a section there in Cathaoirleach and Dublin that has to be addressed. And hopefully when that's addressed, as I say, finalise and finish it the whole way to Spencer Dock. And our view was always that we'd either be at the beginning or the end of it, whichever way you want to look at it, in Longford, and that we turn it into like the Camino, that it's something that everyone would want to do at some stage, do either walk it, cycle it, or run it. I think you'd walk it in 3 days, run it in 2 days, or cycle it in 1 day. That was the thing that you could do it. But the people, it'd be a thing to do, and that's sort of happening in the background now. It's now becoming the Famine Way as well, because that's coming from Strokestown the whole way up as well, right up to the Ginny Johnston at the Epic Centre there beside Spencer Dock. So I suppose there's a conversation there. Is it going to be the Royal Canal Greenway, or is it going to be the Famine Way? But it's a product that we can benefit from, and we've already seen ancillary businesses, and that was one of the things we wanted at the time too, was we would see businesses spawn off it, be it bicycles hire, be it canoeing and kayaking, or even it be your little small cafe, and there's been a number of them have been set up. We've 2 bicycle hire on it, and we've a couple of people doing canoeing and a couple of clubs based on it. So it's definitely bringing people, but I suppose we need to push it on when we get it fully finished up, and really, really promote it. And all the counties have come together jointly and are jointly promoting it. So I think it can be, a product that we can be proud of. And ultimately, I'd love to see, and we had, so we had floated it, and conversations took place with actually linking the Royal Canal with the Great Western Greenway, so that we cross the River Shannon. Work has been done from Clondra up into Lanesborough. There's a board number 1 bridge, cross over into the west of Ireland. We don't need to build another bridge. We have one there we can use, and ultimately go across from Roscommon into Mayo, and that you could do from Spencer Dock to Achill Island. A lot of the push was to develop it through Galway. Now, it would have been an easier option to go the other way, but they wanted to have that finish point from Dublin to Galway. But we'll get there.
There's huge potential, hasn't it? I mean, that's a huge thing now, outdoor tourism and adventure tourism or walking. It's like by multiples, it's the growing area. And in a way, like Ireland, like we've got the perfect weather. For summertime, it's not too hot, for walking, like it can become unbearable in Europe. So I think that's got such potential, hasn't it, for growth, tourism.
Massive. And like when we were, say, identifying, that's, what have we got in Longford? We look fantastic forests, rivers, lakes, canals, utilize what we have, and build on that. And so that's, better place to come if you want to go cycling, walking. Our forest trails, we have it all here. So that, look, it's a fantastic product that we have, and we've expanded it with different walks, I suppose, in, say, Newcastle Woods, Derry Castle Woods, Commons North, Edenmore in Lanesborough, Edenmore Bog Walk, and complement that with, the Royal Canal, and there's some smaller walks around the county. But ultimately, I'd love to see it connect all these, to do cycling and walk on trails that you could do longer distance up to 200 kilometres of a walk or a cycle in particular at that long distance. But that's what the European market looks for. They don't want.
They want a week, don't they?
Yeah, they want a week, and they don't want to go to A to B. They want to go A loops rather than over and back. So we have more work to do.
I think it's great branding, like Ireland's hidden heartland, and you were very involved in that, weren't you?
As chairperson, I would have been very vocal on the fact that I've seen signs going up for Ireland's
Ancient East,
and to be honest, it frustrated me because we're not in the East, we're in the Midlands, and we had no brands, so we would have linked in with Fáilte Ireland to put pressure and about creating a brand name for the Midlands, as we were looking at the likes of the Lakelands area, and we weren't, I'll be honest, getting a lot of headway. There wasn't an appetite from Fáilte Ireland to develop another brand. They had the three brands: Dublinia, Ireland's Ancient East, and the Wide Atlantic Way. But I'd have to compliment Minister Boxer-Moran at the time. Was very supportive. I would have spoken to him about it at the time, and I would have spoke politically within my own party. As I say, I'm involved in politics as well in Fine Gael, and we got it in as part of the programme for government that it would be looked at. And when they looked at it, they found that appetite was there for off the beaten track, slow, easy tourism away from the Wide Atlantic Way and away from Ireland's Ancient East. So there was an appetite there, and when they carried out the various studies and scope, and they came back with the brand name Ireland's Hidden Heartlands, which I think is an apt. He identifies where we are and where we're from, and it is hidden, and needs to be explored. But it is at the heart of Ireland. We're at the centre of the country, the spine of the country, and we've a lot to offer, a lot of natural beauty, and a naturally beautiful people as well, living in the area. So, as I say, it's there to be explored. Our rivers, our lakes, our boglands, and we're developing the infrastructure around that for people to come and explore and see what we have here.
Like when I go abroad, that's what I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for, the hidden, the off the beaten track places, away from the big touristy places that can be more expensive and full of people. So, you have to assume that tourists that are coming to Ireland, that's what they want as well. They want to get away from the crowds, and they want to go somewhere where you get the real flavour of Ireland, where people will welcome you. And I think Longford is like that, isn't it? That like when tourists are there, they're going to get a special welcome.
That's it. You're going to get a natural welcome from very, warm-hearted people. And, I think, as I say, I think the title Heartlands, I think, is very apt, because we're at the heart of the country. And I think the warmest welcome that you will get is in the Midlands, and a lot of the natural beauty and a lot of the old traditions are still there. It's, as I said, you can get the natural flavour of old Ireland, and we have Fiona Egan actually there, cooking school set up on a rural farm, teaching, making brown bread, boxty, cooking, go out, feed the calves. Fantastic success, but it's back to simple things as well, and daily life in Ireland. And as I say, we've fantastic beauty. You go over to the likes of Corlea Bog there, and I think it's completely underutilized off the public works site in Corlea, with the wooden trackway going back a couple of 1,000 years. But when you go out there, I'll tell you, just that peace and quiet in the boglands, it's tranquil, and as I say, I don't think not enough people have visited or even people from our own county, to be honest. We need to sell our own county, know our own county, and promote our own county, and slowly we're beginning to do that. And I think one thing that, I suppose, post-COVID, people got to see our own county a lot more when they couldn't travel outside it, and I think we appreciate more what we have than we did previously. So
that's what John Connell's book, The Stream of Everything, that's how it was during COVID, so he just went down the river,
Hamlin, and it's ironically a conversation myself and John had a number of years previously.
Really?
Well, I discussed about the Camlin and utilising it and putting in a canoe drop and canoeing from there out. So we have actually, the canoe drop is in Ballinallee, and I'm actually going looking for funding now to clean
Brilliant.
off the sides of the river. Some people do it, but it needs a bit of work to try and clean off the sides of it and take away any trees where there's blockages and stuff like that, and really open it up. That flows through right through the heart of Longford town out to Clondra, and like people have always said, it would open up the canal right into Longford town, and lifting the two bridges on the then 5 and then 63. But that's, you're talking 20-25 million to do that, because there's already national roads going through where the canal was. But we have the river that's there, and I suppose over the years ago, Longford turned us back on the River Camlin, and people didn't exist now. So we're going to refocus now and open it up and the river. And I think that's an ideal opportunity to utilize the river, get people kayaking and canoeing it and use it. And you can actually go down the Camlin River out onto the River Shannon and back up the Royal Canal into the harbour there in Clondra. So I don't think there's too many places that you can actually go on, as I say, a major river and a canal as well, and Loch Forbes as well too, that you can link into. So it's quite unusual that you can be on a lake, a canal and a river in the one loop. So there's a Camlin Blueway. So we want to extend that back into Longford town and back up to Ballinallee, where it's still navigable.
What I loved about that book was it showed you like the flora, but like the different animals and the birds and the history and dragonflies and really made you appreciate the minutiae of like an Irish river, particularly one that's like quiet and really, I thought it was just magical, that book, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, as I say, and getting to meet maybe a local farmer out on the field,
Yeah, exactly.
doing things, and as I say, just peaceful and tranquil. And I grew up as a young age fishing on that river myself. Now, we didn't catch too many things, but it was a thing we done in our youth on that river. And I know in another spot we used to bank it at a point where it was a sandy base, and learned how to swim actually in that river. So lots of good memories. Very, very proud to be from Longford, and honoured to represent Longford up here in political life in Leinster House, and that's what I'm working towards, making it a better place, and hopefully through me work on the tourism committee, to show other people what we have, and bring more people and bring more prosperity, bring more jobs. As I say, we've seen just the canal that the work that's been done. We've seen the businesses that have been created and the knock-on effect in the likes of even Abbey Shrule there. We've a hub there now on the edge of the canal, and seen the expansion of the Rustic Inn now with a bit of accommodation. We've a couple of B&Bs on it, but we've cycling places in both Clondra and in Ballymahan. As I said, a few mobile coffee shops, etc., that are on the canal from people using it. So like, you're creating a few jobs as well. So like that's positive, and it's about ultimately the next generation and generation after that, they'll be able to live and work here and have a good quality of life. I think that's the priority.
Few friends that were coming to Longford for the weekend. You've mentioned a lot of things now already, but is there anything that you'd sort of go, yeah, I must bring them there, or I must do this activity? If you'd mates coming to Longford for the weekend, would you go fishing?
I haven't done in a long number of years myself.
Have you not?
I just was gone away from it now and haven't done it. But look, you only have to look over the River Shannon there in Lanesborough, out onto Loughree, Actvasrall. Both people want to get out on Loughree to go fishing, even in North Longford, back down Lough, etc. like that. That was all a strong, fishing tradition down there, and a significant number of people from the UK used to come over. As I said, Lough there, I think, is underutilized, to be quite honest. There's an opportunity there, something we looked at as well for sort of outdoor activity tourism on the lake there in Dring, where we have a small harbour, and other parking facilities, toilet facilities and that, and there's an opportunity. Loughrea, I think there's massive opportunity there to, develop that and promote that. We have developed driving trails, and we have them, particularly to the literary trail, mainly South Longford, Edgeworthstown, Goldsmiths, Maria Edgeworth, and we have the Maria Edgeworth Centre there in Edgeworthstown. To promote, the books and the writings of Maria Edgeworth and their whole link to education. And they recently had a, very successful Maria Edgeworth weekend there. But we have, the Rebel Trail, as I say, in North Longford, to link in with that whole history with the Land League, the 1798 and the War of Independence. So they're all, driving trails that have been developed with audio visual points on them like that. So in a number of different languages for people to, I suppose, to take a trip and see the history on the ground, particularly, as I said, the Rebel Trail, like you have the sites in Balnamoke, you have, when you go to Granard, you have Greville Arms, where Kitty Kiernan's family lived. You have the Clonfin ambush site, which has been developed, and then say into Balnalee, one of the cottage area of Micheál's actual forge has been rebuilt, where he was a blacksmith himself. So, opportunities there to, do a couple of loops of the county, both north and south, and, take in, as I said, particularly even our literary history.
It's always a great literary tradition in Longford. And Granard had a book festival this year, didn't it?
Yeah, no, the great, fantastic success, the book festival, and it's there to stay. It's there for again.
Yeah, one to watch out for. Some great guests.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. I was up a couple of nights at it myself, and it was brilliant. There was, people from all over the country, and reduced to John in particular, that would have probably used a lot of his contacts to do it. And like, my view, is in Longford, sometimes people not, and that's when we don't do things. My attitude would be, why not? Why can't we not do it?
Totally.
Do it and build these little festivals. We have the short film festival based in Ballymahon. There's lots to do when you come and stay, from that point of view, with regard to the arts and theatre. There's lots to do.
Totally.
Back down to the basics, and
exactly.
That's the heart of the country. That's I think best Irish mentality you'll get is coming to Longford.
It feels like it's the beginning of tourism in the county, actually. I know it sounds maybe strange saying that, but I just think it's got such potential, the county.
Yeah, no, like it has. Like I say, we had the lowest numbers for years. Probably we weren't promoting ourselves properly, but I think we've got together sort of got the local authority involved, members of the local authority in the committee. We look for funding for a tourism officer, so successful in that. So now we have two, Dipna and Tara there in the office coordinating, doing all the promotional work, helping us looking for grants to develop projects. As a committee, we've developed projects. We put in signage in the towns and villages around the county, village signs there, all the villages in the whole county and stuff like that. So look, we're getting great support now from the local authority, to be honest, to push this on, and hopefully we're successful in these other bits of funding now.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the time.
All right, thank you.
I have to say that Longford is a very special part of Ireland. It truly is a beautiful part of Ireland waiting to be discovered by many Irish people. Longford recently made national attention in the tourism sector when Centre Park set up one of Ireland's largest tourist attractions. It's got over 100 activities on offer for up to 2,500 guests in luxurious lodges on site at Newcastle Woods. But there are also more attractions and activities in the county for tourists, including the Royal Canal Greenway from Clondra to Dublin, which is the longest linear greenway in Ireland. There is also the National Famine Way from Strokestown, which is a great trail for walkers. For history buffs, there's the Corlea Trackway Visitors Centre in Kenagh, which is home to the ancient Iron Age bog road, which dates all the way back to 148 BC. Then there's also the Knights and Conquests Heritage Centre in Granard, which is a Norman Ireland interactive visitor centre adjacent to Ireland's tallest motte. So for more information on all the sites and activities in Longford, please go to their website longford.ie. I look forward to sharing more travel tales with you in the coming weeks. Take care and safe travels.